The sound of the zipper. That's what made me stop. Not yelling, not a fight, just the zipper sliding in the dark. And suddenly, the silence was louder than anything he's ever said. I stood there, holding a pale blue sweater, realizing how long I'd been asking permission just to exist. Not out of fear, because someone taught me to call control love. And when love erases you slowly, you almost don't notice. Almost. Stay until the end. The next story might save someone. And if this spoke to you, please like the video and subscribe. It helps more than you know. The clock keeps ticking, each second louder than the last. I don't know how long I've been sitting in the dark. My hand hovers over a sweater, pale blue, the one I used to love, and I hesitate. The hesitation itself is the problem. I shouldn't be hesitating. It's my sweater, my body, my choice. But somewhere along the way, my choices stopped feeling like mine. I'm holding my breath, listening. The apartment is silent, that particular kind of silence that isn't peaceful. It's the silence after he's looked at me in that way. Not angry, never angry, just disappointed, observant, the kind of look that makes you rewind everything you said in the last hour and wonder where you went wrong. The sweater goes into the bag. Then I take it out. Then I put it back in again. Will he notice? I whisper to no one. This is who I've become. A woman asking permission from the silence. I think back to the person I was 3 years ago. The one who wore whatever she wanted, who laughed too loud at dinner parties, who said yes to spontaneous plans without checking anyone's mood first. Where did she go? It wasn't a dramatic exit. There were no fights, no screaming matches that made it clear I needed to leave. It was slower than that, quieter. It was like watching the color drain out of a photograph, frame by frame, until one day you realize you're looking at a black and white version of someone you used to know. My phone buzzes. A text from Sarah. Still can't do lunch tomorrow? 3 weeks ago, I could have done lunch. I had a calendar and friends and a sense of being wanted somewhere beyond these walls. Now I'm texting back. Sorry, I'm not sure what his schedule is like. His schedule, not mine. His plans, his preferences, his comfort. I delete the text without sending it. Instead, I type, let me check. That's the thing about emotional abuse. Nobody warns you about the quiet kind. They warn you about the men who break things, who raise their voices until the walls shake, who make you flinch at sudden movements. But what about the men who never raise their voice? The ones who correct you gently? Who guide you with compliments wrapped around criticism? Who make you feel like you're the chaotic one, and they're the only solid ground beneath your feet? He never yelled. That was the whole appeal at first. That was the thing that made me think I'd finally found peace. I packed the sweater, then my underwear, a couple of books, my passport. My hands are shaking, but not from cold. I've never left before. I've never even thought about leaving. Until tonight. Tonight, something broke inside me. Or maybe it finally started breaking through. I remember the day I met Ethan like it was yesterday, even though it was 3 years ago. Coffee shop on 5th Avenue. I was sitting alone reading a book I didn't actually like, just to look interesting. He noticed. Not in a predatory way, but in that gentle, observant way he had. He asked what I was reading. I told him the truth. Honestly, I have no idea. I grabbed it off the shelf because the cover looked cool. He laughed, a real laugh, not a judgment. Then he sat down. I didn't ask him to, he just did. And we talked for 2 hours. He was everything I wasn't expecting. He was calm, grounded. He had this quality of listening that made you feel like you were the most interesting person he'd ever met. Not in a fake way. In a way that made you sit up straighter, speak more thoughtfully, wonder what it was about you that warranted such complete attention. You're fascinating, he told me that day. Raw, real. Most people are so guarded. I felt seen. Finally seen. Our first few months were intoxicating. He introduced me to jazz music I'd never heard before, to small restaurants in neighborhoods I didn't know existed, to the idea that silence between two people could be comfortable instead of terrifying. He had opinions on everything: art, literature, politics, and he shared them in this authoritative but gentle way that made me want to learn more, to be better. "I like that you're curious," he'd say. "You should lean into that more. Stop pretending you're something you're not." It felt like advice, like mentorship from someone who saw my potential. Then, very slowly, it shifted. One evening, maybe 6 months in, I wore a dress to dinner that I'd bought with my friend Maya. It was bold, shorter than I usually wore, with an open back. "You look nice," he said. Then, "Though I've never pictured you as the type to wear something quite so revealing, but interesting. I guess you have more range than I thought." It wasn't a compliment. I understood that immediately, but it was wrapped in the language of observation, of curiosity. Like he was simply noticing a contradiction in my personality. By the next date, I didn't wear the dress. I wore something else. "Much better," he said. "Way more you." The problem was, I started believing him. I started thinking that the version of myself he approved of was the real me. The better me. The one worth keeping. When I'd laugh at something on my phone, he'd ask, "What's funny?" And when I'd show him, he'd often say, "That's silly. I thought you had more sophisticated taste." So I laughed less. I curated my humor. I stopped finding things funny if I suspected he wouldn't. When I'd mention plans with friends, he'd listen thoughtfully and then say things like, "That's nice. Though honestly, Sarah seems a bit exhausting. And Maya, I don't know. She encourages you to be impulsive. You're better when you're grounded." I started declining invitations. It was never a demand. Never, "You can't go." It was always a subtle redirection. A question, "Do you really want to spend your Saturday with them?" A observation, "You always seem drained after hanging out with your work friends." A gentle suggestion, "You know I'm here if you need me. We could have a quiet night instead." And quiet sounded so good. Quiet sounded like peace. Quiet sounded like love. By the second year, the apartment had become my entire world. Not because he locked me in. Not because he forbade me to leave. It was nothing so dramatic. It was just that, over time, stepping outside felt like stepping into chaos. The world felt too big, too unpredictable. He was predictable. He was safe. Or at least, he was familiar. And I'd learned to mistake familiar for safe. I'd stopped wearing makeup on weekdays. He'd mentioned once that he preferred the natural me, and I'd internalized that as a compliment. But it was also a boundary, a standard, something he preferred. And once I knew what he preferred, my own preferences stopped mattering so much. My closet slowly emptied of the clothes I loved. The bold colors, the patterns, the vintage finds that made me feel like myself. I replaced them with neutral pieces, things that wouldn't draw attention, things that wouldn't make him wonder why I needed to look that way. For what occasion? For whom? He never said these things outright. That was the genius of it. He didn't have to. "You're getting better at understanding yourself," he'd say. "More aligned." I interpreted this as growth. The silence in our apartment took on different textures. There was the silence of contentment, rare, and I clung to it like it was proof that everything was fine. There was the silence of his displeasure, which felt like walking on ice. And there was the silence of my own absence, the silence of a person slowly disappearing. I remember one specific dinner where I made pasta. I'd learned his preferences, so I made it exactly how he liked it. Not too much sauce, a certain type of olive oil, the vegetables cut to a particular size. He took a bite, chewed thoughtfully, and said, "It's good. Though next time, maybe use a bit less garlic. I could smell it on you earlier and it was a bit much. My presence was a bit much." I stopped cooking. I said my stomach had been bothering me. I didn't have the energy. The truth was that the thought of him evaluating my labor, my love expressed through food, made me feel sick. So I stopped trying. and he ordered in. And he was happy with me again. And in that moment, his happiness was everything. Well, my former therapist had asked me once, "How do you feel in this relationship?" I remember struggling to answer, "Safe? Anxious? Both? Neither?" I felt small. I felt like someone was always watching, always observing, always ready to gently point out where I'd gone wrong. "He's never aggressive," I'd told her. "He's actually the most patient man I know. Patience can be used as a weapon," she'd said. I hadn't gone back to therapy after that. Ethan said he didn't believe in it anyway, that it was people talking about their problems instead of solving them. That real strength meant self-reflection, not outside commentary. That I should trust his guidance instead. And for a while, I did. By year 3, I realized I couldn't remember the last time I'd called my mother without him in the room. I couldn't remember the last time I'd had a conversation my own thoughts. Thoughts that felt undeniably mine, and not just echoes of his observations. I'd stopped buying books without imagining his commentary. I'd stopped listening to music he didn't approve of. I'd stopped having opinions that weren't vetted versions of his. I'd become his perfect sculpture. The cruelest part was that it never felt like abuse. It felt like love. It felt like being chosen, being seen, being guided toward a better version of myself. It felt like someone finally understood me so completely that they could shape me into the person I was always meant to be. But the person I was meant to be, I realize now, was always me. Just as I was. Not edited, not corrected, not approved. The night before I left, I looked in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. She looked smaller, darker somehow, like someone had turned down her brightness. "Who are you?" I asked her. She didn't answer. She couldn't. She'd forgotten how. The coffee shop was busy, which was perfect. Sarah wouldn't have to worry about me getting anxious in a crowded space. I'd gotten so used to avoiding crowds that the thought of sitting in public still made my stomach tight. But Sarah had insisted. She was tired of me being invisible. "You're changing," she'd said over text, and not in a good way. I wanted to defend Ethan, to explain that I wasn't changing. I was just becoming clearer, more refined, more aligned with who I truly was. But something in me couldn't quite make that argument anymore. Sarah ordered tea. I ordered coffee, but not the kind I actually liked. I ordered the kind Ethan had suggested once, and it had stayed in my preference like a default setting I couldn't override. "How's everything?" she asked, stirring her cup. "Good, really good. Ethan and I are..." "Clara?" She set down her spoon. "Do you hear yourself?" "What do you mean?" "Every time you talk, it's like you're asking permission. Ethan and I are, if that's okay." "I was thinking of maybe, but what does he think?" "You sound like you're asking permission to live." The coffee shop seemed to get quieter. Or maybe I just got louder in my own head. "I'm just considerate," I said. "That's not a bad thing. No. But there's a difference between being considerate and disappearing. When's the last time you did something without mentally checking it against his preferences first?" I couldn't answer. "When's the last time you wore something just because you wanted to? When's the last time you said no to him about anything?" "He's never asked me to do anything I didn't want to do." "Exactly," Sarah said. "He doesn't have to ask. That's the whole point. He's trained you to want what he wants." I felt my chest tighten. Trained. What a horrible true word. "You're being unfair," I said, but my voice sounded weak even to me. "I'm being honest. And I love you too much to let you keep disappearing." She reached across the table and took my hand. "I miss you, Clara. The real you. The one who used to make terrible jokes and wear that wild vintage jacket and didn't apologize for being too much. You were never too much. You were just enough." I couldn't speak. If I spoke, I was going to cry. And I hadn't let myself cry in months. Crying was emotional, and Ethan had gently suggested that my emotionality was something I might want to work on. That strong people didn't cry over small things. But this didn't feel small. "What if he's right, though?" I whispered. What if I was too much, and he's helping me become better? Better for whom? Sarah asked quietly. Better for him, maybe. But is that what love is supposed to be? Someone slowly erasing your edges until you fit into the shape they prefer? On the way home, I couldn't stop thinking about that word. Erasing. Is that what had been happening? Erasing? It sounded so violent, so intentional. Surely it wasn't that. Surely it was something softer, something I'd agreed to. But when I tried to remember the moment I'd agreed, I came up empty. That night, I sat on the edge of the bed and really looked at myself, at the muted clothes, at the careful way I moved, at the small person I'd become. When did you stop laughing? I asked the mirror. She didn't answer, but something in me finally started to wake up. Dinner was quiet. This was normal. Our dinners were usually quiet now. I'd learned that silence was preferred. Silence meant I wasn't saying the wrong thing. Ethan had made salmon. He was good at cooking. He was good at a lot of things. He'd told me once that he used to have a girlfriend before me who tried to cook but was really quite terrible at it, and he'd eventually had to take over because he couldn't bear to eat her attempts. I'd taken that as a compliment, that I was somehow better than her, that he valued me enough to teach me, to guide me. Now I wondered if that story was even true. The salmon is good, I said quietly. He nodded, chewed, swallowed. The ritual continued. Then he set down his fork and looked at me. That look, the observant one, the one that made my stomach drop. He said, his voice calm and measured as always, "You're really quite lucky." I set down my fork too. Waited. Lucky? I echoed. Most women your age are still so lost. They don't know who they are. They jump from one thing to the next. No real direction, no real grounding. He took another bite. But I've been able to help you find stability, to understand yourself, to get you to a place where you're actually becoming someone worth knowing. The words were poison dressed as honey. I'd heard versions of them before. But something about tonight, maybe it was what Sarah had said, maybe it was 3 years of small deaths catching up to me all at once. Something about tonight made me see the words for what they actually were. I'm lucky, I repeated slowly. You should be grateful, he continued, completely unaware that something inside me was breaking open. Not all men would have the patience, the clarity, the vision to see past your chaos and help you become organized, purposeful. Most men would just let you be a mess. I felt my hands start to shake. Under the table, I pressed them flat against my thighs. When did I become a mess? I asked. You weren't, necessarily. But you had the potential to be. Undisciplined. Reactive. Always needing validation from others. The clothes you used to wear? The friends you used to see? The way you'd say yes to everything? It was exhausting just watching it. You needed someone to keep you grounded, to remind you of what actually matters. And what matters? My voice was very small. Stability, growth, being someone I'm proud to be with. He looked at me like I should be grateful for this inventory of my transformation. You've done well. You should be proud of yourself, proud of myself, for disappearing. I stood up. The chair scraped against the floor, too loud, the kind of loud that normally made me flinch and apologize. But I didn't flinch. I didn't apologize. I'm going to pack some things, I said. He laughed. Actually laughed. What? You're upset? This is exactly what I'm talking about. You're so emotional. Why would you be upset? I'm giving you a compliment. I walked to the bedroom without answering. My hands were moving on their own now. Muscle memory from a decision I didn't even know I'd fully made yet. The pale blue sweater, jeans, my passport. When had I gotten that last? Had I always known, somewhere deep down, that I might need it? Some part of me had been preparing for this exit for weeks, maybe months, maybe since the day I realized I couldn't remember my own favorite color. Ethan appeared in the doorway. Clara, stop. This is dramatic and unnecessary. You're being irrational. I zipped the bag. My hands were steady. Strange. I thought they'd be shaking. Instead, I felt almost numb, almost clear. I'm leaving, I said. For how long? I don't know. You're being impulsive. This is the kind of chaos I've been helping you avoid. You need to think about this rationally. I turned to face him, and I realized something in that moment. He wasn't worried. He wasn't angry. He was annoyed. I was a malfunctioning device he'd have to recalibrate. I need to think about this rationally, I repeated. Ethan, I've been thinking about everything rationally for 3 years. I've been thinking about what you want, what you'd approve of, what version of myself would make you happiest. I've been so rational that I forgot how to just be. You're confused, he said. You're upset. Give it a few hours. No. The word came out louder than I expected. No more hours. No more trying to convince me I'm wrong about what I'm feeling. I'm leaving. And where will you go? He said it like it was a ridiculous question. I was incapable of existing without his infrastructure. I don't know, I said, but I'm going to find out. I moved past him in the doorway. He didn't try to stop me physically. He never did. That wasn't his method. His method was words and suggestions, and the gentle implication that the world outside was too chaotic for someone like me. But I was too chaotic for him. And I was leaving anyway. At the door, I hesitated. Old habit. The feeling that I should turn around, apologize, explain myself back into staying. But I pushed through it. I opened the door. I walked out. Behind me, I heard him call out, "You'll be back. You can't survive on your own, Clara. You'll be back." I didn't look back to confirm or deny it. I just walked. The hallway was bright. Too bright. Everything outside seemed too bright after so long in that dim, controlled space. The elevator hummed. The lobby smelled like cleaning products and evening. The street was full of people who weren't Ethan, doing things they wanted to do, wearing what they wanted to wear. I walked until I found a cafe that was still open. The cafe is warm. Too warm, maybe, but I don't care. I sit in the corner with the mug of tea cradled between my palms like it might be the only warm thing left in the world. My hands are shaking now, not from cold, from the realization of what I've just done, from the freedom and the terror of it existing in the same moment. People around me are living their lives in the most ordinary way. A couple laughing at a shared joke. A woman reading a book with actual concentration, not performing concentration. An older man on his phone, gesticulating wildly at something that upset him. No one is editing themselves. No one is asking permission. A waitress, young with pink streaks in her hair, the kind of hair that Ethan would have gently questioned, smiles at me. "You okay there?" she asks. I open my mouth to say yes automatically. To say I'm fine, everything is fine, don't worry about me. But something stops me. "No," I say quietly. "Actually, I'm not. But I think I'm going to be." She nods like she understands something. Maybe she does. My phone buzzes. Ethan's name appears. "Where are you? This is serious. You can't just leave." I watch the text for a long moment, then put the phone face down on the table. When I look up again, there's a notification on my WhatsApp. From Maya, from 3 months ago, the last time I tried to reach out. "Whenever you're ready, I'm here." My hands are still shaking, but they're shaking less. I type slowly. "Hi, I'm ready now." The response comes back in seconds. "Where are you?" I give her the cafe address. Then I sit with my tea and wait. While I wait, I look at my reflection in the cafe window. The woman looking back is still small, still muted in her clothes. But there's something different in her eyes. Something lighting up that's been dark for so long I'd forgotten it had a name. Freedom, maybe. Or just the beginning of remembering what freedom feels like. I don't look like myself yet. It will take time to remember how. Time to find those bold colors again. Time to laugh loudly without flinching. Time to develop opinions that aren't echoes, but I'm here. I'm present. I'm breathing without permission. When Maya arrives 20 minutes later, she stops short in the doorway like she's seeing a ghost. "Hi," I say. My voice sounds small, but it's mine. She crosses the cafe in 2 strides and pulls me into a hug. I don't remember the last time someone hugged me without it feeling conditional, without it feeling like I had to earn it by being a certain version of myself. "I'm sorry I disappeared," I whisper into her shoulder. "I know," she says, "but you're here now." I'm still sitting in that cafe, hours later. The waitress has changed shifts. The couple is long gone. My cup is cold. But I'm still here. Ethan hasn't called again. I think that's telling. When the thing you've been controlling finally escapes, you have 2 choices. Fight for it or let it go. He's letting me go. Or maybe he thinks I'll come back. Maybe to him, my leaving is just another phase he has to let me work through before I return, grateful and ready to be shaped again. But I'm not going back. This is the thing people don't tell you about emotional abuse. It doesn't feel like abuse when you're in it. It feels like love. It feels like being seen. It feels like someone has finally put together all the broken pieces of you and made something whole. But wholeness isn't supposed to erase your color. It's not supposed to make you smaller. Real love doesn't require you to disappear. Real peace is not silence enforced by fear. Real peace is when you can breathe without apologizing. When you can laugh out loud without wondering if it's too much. When you can wear a sweater, any sweater, even the pale blue one, and not ask permission from the empty space where your autonomy used to be. I'm going to rebuild. I'm going to sound like myself again, even if I have to relearn my own voice from scratch. I'm going to find those friends I've lost and apologize for being absent. I'm going to buy clothes that don't hide me. I'm going to remember what I used to love before someone convinced me those loves were distractions. But tonight, I'm just going to sit here. I'm going to finish this cold tea, and I'm going to practice being present, not for anyone else, but for me, because I'm the only person whose approval I need anymore, and I'm approving of myself for the first time in 3 years.